Imagine a construction project so extreme that the place itself tries to kill you before you even start working. 4,800 meters above sea level on the Tibetan Plateau, the air has around 40% less oxygen than at sea level. Your heart races above 100 beats per minute just from walking slowly. After a few steps, you feel like you are sprinting uphill. Headaches, nausea, and dizziness are not exceptions. They are the baseline. At this altitude, an unacclimatized person can go from feeling just tired to drowning in their own lungs in less than 48 hours. This is where China is building one of the most powerful hydropower systems in human history. Not in a comfortable valley, not at a mild altitude. On the roof of the world, in a region where winter temperatures drop to minus 40 degrees Celsius at night, where blizzards can block visibility in seconds, and where every truck, every excavator, and every human body fights just to keep functioning. For Beijing, this is not just a dam. It is a strategic energy weapon made of concrete, steel, and water. A project measured in tens of billions of dollars and tens of gigawatts of future power. Enough electricity to run entire industrial regions and cut a massive chunk out of coal consumption. For the people sent to build it, it is something very different. It is a daily negotiation with altitude, cold, rock, and risk. The river they are trying to tame is the Yarlung Changpo. In a short stretch through the eastern Himalayas, this river falls roughly 2,000 meters in elevation. That drop is a hydropower engineer's dream and a geologist's nightmare. If you can capture that energy, you get massive amounts of electricity every year. If you miscalculate, you get landslides, floods, and very expensive ruins. Chinese planners have drawn a brutal blueprint. Multiple large concrete dams along the canyon. Dozens of kilometers of pressure tunnels drilled straight through mountains. Underground caverns the size of skyscrapers laid on their side, housing turbines and generators. High-voltage lines crossing mountains and gorges, carrying Tibetan power thousands of kilometers east. On paper, the numbers look impressive. Tens of gigawatts of installed capacity. Annual output that rivals the consumption of entire regions. A construction schedule stretching over more than a decade. A price tag measured in tens or even hundreds of billions of dollars. In speeches, officials call it a project that will secure China's energy future and showcase national engineering strength. None of those speeches mention what the first day feels like for workers who step off the bus at the plateau. The camp is a cluster of prefabricated buildings anchored on frozen ground, surrounded by mountains and clouds. The air is clear but brutally sharp. Every breath burns the throat. The sun at this altitude feels closer, yet the wind cuts straight through clothing. Workers sit on their duffel bags for several minutes, just trying to control their breathing before reporting to the site office. Among them are engineers from coastal China. Many have worked on bridges and highways at sea level, where altitude was just a number on a briefing slide. Now, their heads pulse with every heartbeat as they climb metal stairs to dorm rooms. The first day is simple. Safety training, oxygen masks, maps of the site, instructions about what to do if a roommate does not wake up. The trainers repeat the rules like a mantra. Do not run, do not drink alcohol. Report any headache, dizziness, or chest pain immediately. Everyone nods. No one wants to be the weak one. On day 2, the real work starts. Excavators and drilling rigs are already chewing into the mountain for access roads and construction platforms. Engineers walk the site with supervisors. Every 100 steps require a pause, not because the path is steep, but because lungs cannot keep up. Supervisors do not laugh at the jokes about being out of shape. They have seen this pattern before. By evening, headaches become sharp pressure behind the eyes. Workers swallow painkillers and lie down fully dressed, because rooms are freezing even with heaters on. Hearts thump fast and heavy against ribs. Videos from home on phones show children and families in a world that feels impossibly distant. The altitude feels like another planet. On day 3, for some workers, the cough starts. Dry at first, then wet. Climbing a short flight of stairs leaves them gasping. Roommates notice lips looking slightly blue in the morning light. During site inspections, workers lean against rocks trying to catch their breath and suddenly taste metal. When they spit, there is blood in the snow. The camp medical team sees this pattern regularly. Oxygen saturation levels, lung sounds, eye checks. The diagnosis is not complicated. High-altitude pulmonary edema, fluid accumulating in lungs. At sea level, this would be a strange medical case. Here, at nearly 5,000 meters, it is a known killer. They put workers on oxygen. They arrange emergency evacuations to lower altitude hospitals. The problem is distance and time. The nearest facilities that can properly treat severe altitude sickness are hundreds of kilometers away, down dangerous roads that can be blocked by snow or rockfall with no warning. Ambulances leave the camp in darkness, headlights slicing through thin air and swirling snow. Not everyone makes it. For the project, each case becomes a line in internal reports and compensation payments to families. For colleagues, these cases become reminders that altitude does not care about years of experience or professional roles. It just counts red blood cells and oxygen molecules. After such incidents, more workers are rotated out earlier. More oxygen tanks are installed in dormitories. But deadlines do not move. Concrete still needs to be poured. Tunnels still need to be drilled. Turbines still need to be installed. As human costs accumulate and productivity suffers, project leadership accepts a harsh conclusion. At this height, in these conditions, humans are the weak link. They are too slow, too fragile, and too limited by biology. Machines are not. China has already tested automated construction equipment and driverless trucks on highways and mines at lower altitudes. Now, those systems are moving to the plateau. Not as experiments, but as essential infrastructure. Convoys of heavy trucks arrive loaded not with more workers, but with machines that do not need oxygen. Excavators with no seats and no steering wheels. Dump trucks whose cabins are empty except for control computers and communication hardware. Drilling rigs covered in sensors. All of them wrapped in insulation and special coatings to survive minus 40 degrees Celsius nights and blasting snow. On site, technicians connect these machines to satellite navigation and high-bandwidth communication links. High on ridge lines, antennas and relay stations stand like metal trees. In control centers hundreds or even thousands of kilometers away, operators sit in comfortable chairs looking at walls of screens showing live feeds from cameras mounted on these machines. Each operator can supervise multiple units. When systems run smoothly, they intervene rarely. The autonomous software handles path planning, collision avoidance, and task execution. When something unexpected happens, humans take over, sending direct commands through joysticks and keyboards. From the perspective of a drone flying above the site at night, the plateau looks almost surreal. Long lines of headlights move in perfect loops between excavation faces and spoil piles. Robotic excavators scrape and load rock with mechanical precision. No shouting, no visible people. Just steel and hydraulics working in coordinated silence under a sky full of stars. Productivity numbers improve. Machines do not need rest breaks, meal times, or acclimatization days. They do not complain about headaches or frostbite. They do not argue about overtime pay. For parts of the operation, what once required hundreds of workers now requires dozens of operators in warm rooms far away, and maintenance crews on site. But automation does not remove risk, it changes its shape. Deep inside the mountain, main headrace tunnels advance. These tunnels stretch many kilometers, carrying water under high pressure from reservoirs to underground power stations. The rock is dense, fractured, and unpredictable. Engineers know there are fault zones and underground water pockets, but exact locations are unclear until machines reach them. During tunnel advancement, autonomous drilling rigs and loaders push forward. On monitors in control centers, progress bars tick up meter by meter. Vibration and pressure readings stay within expected ranges. Then, conditions can change in less than a minute. Temperature spikes appear on telemetry from tunnel faces. Moisture sensors jump. Cameras show sudden clouds of steam and dust. Underground pockets of hot pressurized water get breached. Boiling water and rock fragments blast into tunnels. In control rooms, camera feeds go white, then black. Status indicators for multiple machines change from operational to no signal. On the plateau, in physical tunnels, emergency doors slam shut to prevent floods from racing back toward other sections. Sirens echo through darkness. Even without people near the face, damage can be severe. Tons of rock must be cleared. Flooded machines may be total losses. Heat and pressure crack parts of tunnel linings. For schedules and budgets, these are heavy blows. To salvage tunnel alignments in such cases, engineers employ drastic solutions. They freeze rock around breached zones, turning saturated ground into temporary ice shells. Through rings of deep boreholes, they inject refrigerants, lowering the temperature of surrounding rock to far below zero. Over weeks, frozen barriers several meters thick form. Only then can they safely continue tunneling, slowly cutting through ice-reinforced zones with new machines. While these technical battles with geology go on under mountains, a political and strategic battle over water unfolds far downstream. The Yarlung Shangpo does not stop at the Chinese border. After leaving Tibet, it becomes the Brahmaputra in India, and then joins the Ganges and Meghna systems in Bangladesh. Together, these rivers support hundreds of millions of people. Fields, fisheries, cities, and whole regions depend on their flow. Analysts in New Delhi and Dhaka have watched Chinese plans for the upper Yarlung Tsangpo for years. Satellite imagery, official announcements, and reports all point in the same direction. China is building the ability to control when and how much water flows downstream. For India and Bangladesh, that is not a neutral fact. It is a threat to water security. Indian officials publicly raise questions about what will happen in dry years if China decides to store more water for its own needs. Agricultural experts calculate how much crop yield could be lost if the Brahmaputra's flow drops, even by small percentages during key seasons. Security analysts model scenarios in which sudden releases of water from large upstream reservoirs could send destructive surges downstream. Bangladesh, low-lying and vulnerable to both drought and flood, fears double impacts. Less water in dry seasons could mean failing crops and drinking water shortages. Sudden surges in wet seasons could mean catastrophic flooding. Environmental groups warn that altering the river's natural flow patterns and trapping sediment behind dams will change river channels, damage ecosystems, and erode deltas. China responds with assurances. Officials state that the dams are for run of river hydropower, not for large-scale consumptive use of water. They emphasize clean energy, reduced coal burning, and national development. They promise data sharing and technical cooperation. But they do not sign binding water-sharing treaties or give downstream countries real control or legal guarantees. From outside, the project looks like a mix of engineering triumph, strategic leverage, and moral ambiguity. Back on the plateau, years of work finally produce visible structures. Massive concrete dams rise from canyon floors, keyed into bedrock. Spillways and intake towers stand like fortresses. Transmission towers march away over mountains. Underground, powerhouse caverns are lined with steel and concrete. Turbines the size of houses are installed, connected to generators and control systems. Sensors cover everything, feeding live data into monitoring systems. The workers who were there at the beginning are no longer all on site. Some rotated out after contracts ended. Some quit after colleagues got sick. Some did not return. New crews have arrived, slightly better prepared, with more oxygen systems, better gear, and more automation taking the heaviest tasks. In control rooms built into the sides of mountains, screens show reservoir levels, turbine speeds, vibration readings, and power flows. Engineers and technicians sit in rows, watching numbers and curves. Senior operators give orders to start the first turbines. Gates open deep under the surface. Water under high pressure rushes through penstocks and slams into turbine blades. Units begin to spin, slowly at first, then faster, syncing with grid frequencies. On large screens, power output climbs. Tens of megawatts. Hundreds. For moments, everyone in rooms is quiet, listening to the hum of machinery and confirmation messages from systems. Above them, reservoirs are calm. Downstream, rivers leaving the dams look smaller and more controlled than before. Far away, in cities and factories that will receive this power, nothing seems different. Lights stay on. Machines keep running. No one there feels the altitude or the cold, or the weight of concrete holding back millions of tons of water. The dams have done what they were designed to do. They have turned wild drops into controlled energy engines. Whether that is victory or warning depends on where you stand. If you are in Beijing looking at graphs of power generation and carbon emissions, the project is a success story. It provides massive amounts of low-carbon electricity and proves that China can build and operate mega projects in previously unreachable locations. If you are a farmer downstream watching river levels and weather forecasts, the dam is a permanent uncertainty sitting upstream. You cannot see it, but you live with the knowledge that your water, your crops, and your village now depend partly on decisions made in another country. If you are one of the workers who came to the plateau, you remember the headaches, the cold, the colleagues who did not return, and the machines that kept working when people could not. You know the real cost that never makes it into the speeches. And if you are just a viewer watching this story from a comfortable room, you are seeing a preview of what extreme infrastructure looks like in the 21st century. Projects built in places humans barely tolerate, using robots to push deeper, higher, and further, trading local risk and irreversible changes for national-scale benefits. The question that hangs over this dam, and over every mega project that will follow, is simple and brutal. How much are we willing to pay, in human lives, in disrupted communities, in altered rivers and landscapes, for the power and comfort on the other end of the wire?